This Opscast is going to focus most around the future of modding and development of Squad. I'm here with Mitsu, Hamleet, and Iron Taxi, who is a dev for OWI. I'll let them say something about themselves. We'll start with Hamleet, then go Mitsu, then Iron Taxi.
Hey, I'm Hamleet. Been playing this game since it released on Steam, December. Got a ton of hours in it. Love it. Pretty much the game I was waiting for, and excited to get started on modding and implementation.
Yeah, hi everybody, my name is Mitsu. I am the co-founder of the Squad Modding Hub, and also now in charge of managing the mod team and Squad Ups. I'm also part of Postscriptum, a WW2 mod for Squad, and longtime fan of Project Reality and Squad as well.
Hey, I'm Iron Taxi. I was one of the original group of devs for Project Reality way back when. I joined somewhere around like 0.2 or 1 something. Became the lead mapper. Worked on that for about 6-7 years. Went off and did some other stuff, real life stuff, and then back up with Merlin, who is Will Stahl, and started Squad as a commercial product. Almost, formally speaking, this will be year 3 after this month.
Oh wow! So it's a lot older than the public eye sees. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. Year 3 since the first. Let's just say since the first line of code was written, I guess is the describe it. We actually started in. We started very briefly in Unity before realizing that was not going to happen, and then we went over to UDK because UE4 had not released at the time, and within a month or 2 of us starting, UE4 released. So we just immediately jumped ship, or we were told about it at least, internally through connection that we could get access to it really, really early. Man, was it not what it is now. Let me tell you, 3 years ago, UE4 was like, couldn't even put 500 trees on a map without it just completely
Wow.
So it's come a long ways since then.
Oh, yeah.
And with each update, it just keeps getting better.
Yeah, it's incomparable, actually. And we've literally just been growing. We've only been growing at the pace that it's growing with us, It's funny. The funny side story is the reason we did Afghan and Desert is because that's all the engine could handle at the time.
So you're growing only as fast as it lets you.
Absolutely, yeah. I'd say that's less of a barrier now. It used to be much more of a barrier.
Okay. Well, we do have a few topics to discuss. Let's just go right down the list. Modding in AA games, and why would that benefit them?
AAA games?
Yes.
It's a really good question. I guess the question is why don't AAA games have more modding nowadays? Or if they do, I guess it depends on the. Yeah, actually, big AAAs. Do you guys know good examples of ones that have good modding right now?
Personally, I don't know any.
Not AAAs.
I really knew was, I think, Battlefield 2, and then it went pretty much downhill modding-wise. There's a huge claim within the AAA development community, I guess, that modding is a declining trend, and that's why it's not worth even putting work into modding tools.
Right.
Which, in the case of Squad, which obviously is not a AAA game in terms of budget and production size, but I personally think that modding is a really substantial part to a modern game and community.
Yeah, well, you have to ask yourself the question, why? Why do they feel that way? And in my personal opinion, I think, well, I don't know if this is what led to it, but I think where we are right now with AAA games is that their marketing cycle has changed dramatically. Their marketing cycle is only about 6 or 8 months long now, which wouldn't make sense for modding. It really wouldn't. I.e., they have no intention of the game running 3 or 4 years. They're like a great example is Siege is a good example, but there's a couple other good ones where they pound their marketing for the first 6 months, just like non-stop sales, everything, and just get as much as they can up front. And then the back end of the game's life cycle is way less supported. And I guess it's cost for them, profit and cost.
It's so saddening.
And is it partly because a new title is going to be released within the
Yeah.
future, and everyone's going to
course.
jump to that, and the mods are going to be forgot behind, because they do take time to develop.
Not only that, think about EA is a great example. I could totally, although I don't necessarily agree with their reasoning, I totally get what they're doing is they are trying to massively decrease any peripheral costs they have. So, for example, not supporting people just having independent servers in Battlefield 1, for example, takes a lot of headache out of them from their support division. They could probably fire half of their support because they're not going to have to support people modding or doing custom servers. It would just make their life easier, right or wrong. It's I can see how it would increase the look of the profit essentially.
Yeah, and with almost every game having some sort of DLC strategy,
Yes.
it's almost like a competition between modders who, to be fair, can deliver really, really good quality content, and the in-house DLC packages that they're selling for money. So, with like, if you take the example of Battlefield or Call of Duty, which have been great modding platforms in the past, or very popular ones, there's almost no modding anymore.
No.
I know Black Ops has some sort of modding tools, Black Ops 3, if I'm not mistaken. But I think after Battlefield 2, there was not much modding within the Battlefield 2 community.
Certainly not in first-person shooters. I would say there's probably some other genres of games that have had modding, whether it be levels or stuff like that. The really interesting exception to this, and I've had the privilege of talking to them quite a bit, is the Arc team. They were an indie team, and I would still consider them an indie team. I mean, they have 3 studios now. Their entire strategy was built on modding from the top to the bottom. So that is a good exception.
Well, that is good, and it's not to say that modding is out of the picture for the future of AAA games, or even good indie games such as Squad or Arc. But even with that, how the next topic is version 1.0 release. How much modding and community content do we think is going to be involved with that? 10%, 20%, even more?
How much would be included by 1.0 release?
Yeah, that's kind of what we got on the topic here.
My dream has always been, for map-wise, my dream has always been kind of like 1-to-1 for maps. That would be my dream. If OWI can produce some high-quality maps, like 8, 10, or whatever, and then the community matches it with 8 or 10 maps, that's the longevity of having a library of 20 maps for Squad would be amazing.
Absolutely.
That's how PR has been too, right? Like PR had a crap ton of maps, and you didn't have 1 or 2 that you liked or didn't like. You got to have 5 or 6 that you liked or you didn't like. So I think that's what has made PR. Sorry, it's one of the things that has made PR kind of infinitely replayable, and it hasn't required the PR team to just be the pumping out the maps. It's very difficult at 4 kilometers.
Yeah, and that includes the map size, which creates a replayable experience within the map because there's so many different options involved with each map.
What are you gonna say, Mitsu?
Yeah, sure. So with the latest inclusion of Chance's Kokan map, what are like the most important things mappers have to keep in mind if they would like to see the map being part of the base game content? Is there like
it's a really good question.
some golden rules you would suggest they should look at?
The biggest thing about what Chance worked on that I've asked a couple people to sample their maps and stuff like that. I just don't do it openly. I just do it privately. I don't want to give a false impression to somebody, so I'm trying to be very what's the word? Very literal or very specific in my purpose that I want to check it out. Doesn't mean I'm going to include it or anything, or we are going to include it rather. But in terms of Chances, what I really there's a couple things I like. One is that I like the nostalgia of doing Kokan because a lot of people had good memories of the map and enjoyed it and stuff like that. Not the best map around. It's not like we went down the list and we're like, what's the best map? It's Kokan. Let's redo that. But it was very clean. He did a very, very good job of being organized and a very, very good job of keeping the map clean. I spent maybe I did about a day or two worth of decorating on that map, but it mostly consisted of the river, all the rocks and all that kind of sculpting on the river, just because that he didn't have familiarity with that part of the editor, the sculpting part, not as much as I did, obviously. And then I tweaked some foliage, and that's all I had to do. And lighting, we did a couple lighting passes. So from my point of view, it was nearly complete, which is what that's what I'd love to see. But tidiness, big time, big time. Very few floaters, anything like that.
Yeah, and it was very well received by the community as well. Even when the map changes to it right now, no one has any complaints. They all get excited. It's kind of the new map right now.
Yeah, I've played a few rounds of it, and it was fun. It's good. An interesting anecdote is that Chance was very driven to keep it as pure as possible, I guess, to the original. And one thing that I felt about the original Kokan is that the fields weren't subdivided enough. There wasn't enough subdivisions and roads and things like that. It was just a bunch of fields with some villages. So I actually forced him to subdivide a lot of the fields and make those little raised berms that separate the fields. We added probably 50% more separations in the fields. So that's an interesting anecdote that I actually told him. I was like, no, you're going to have to separate these fields. And that was me. That was me as an experienced mapper saying this is not going to work as well if we don't do this, I guess.
It is a very beautiful addition. Everyone uses those berms for cover, and that was great. I have no complaints against that.
Compared to the original one, you mean, right? Like comparatively?
I never played PR.
Oh, okay, yeah. He's like, I'm like, get him! Somebody get this guy!
But just to recap, so if modders are interested in getting their content into the base game, they should really look at the maps, making sure they are clean. There's no floating rocks or other foliage that's floating around. And even then, if you guys decide, this map is going to be included, they won't have to do it on their own. There's some sort of support by you,
of course,
to make the map
bring it up
good
to
for the public,
spec, essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
Biggest thing is under the hood optimizing that you just aren't necessarily. Some people will be aware of it, some wouldn't. I've tried to show a little bit with some of the like that quick stream I did a couple weeks ago, and then the general one I did about mapping. We would check it anyhow. I think one of the number one mistakes I'm seeing right now is being not having a map that's well planned out and being overly ambitious. Like thinking you're gonna do a very highly detailed 4-kilometer map, and people just burn out within a month. That normally takes us a single mapper 6 months, 5 or 6 months to do a 4K map at least. So I think just being realistic, do a 2K map. 2K maps are totally fine. Until you're an experienced, especially if you're inexperienced. Your first 1K map, there's a possibility there if somebody did a really good 1.5K infantry map. Yeah, I mean I wouldn't say no. Popular and people wanted to play it, we'd put it in. It's not outside the realm of possibility.
That's good. On the topic of building maps and stuff like that and mods, what's the concept behind making mod tools and all assets available to the community? What are the benefits and any issues involved with that?
Conceptually, that was one of the reasons that I joined this project, was to see modding have a backbone again and like a structure, and kind of explore the idea that we could be a framework for projects like Postscriptum or the what's the other one? Sorry, my brain's not working.
Escalation 98.
Yeah, Escalation. I mean, in my dreams, we literally end up building the framework. And one of the things we want to do in the future is actually strip back our structure from the squad stuff and just leave the structure which you could build a game on, so that people could literally download a game framework, plug everything in, go ahead and build a game. So from my point of view, I want to germinate that seed of modding. I think there's a lot of, I just think like so many people got their start or were inspired to get into the industry through modding. I know I was, so that's my motivations.
And just to see what people can create also is
Oh, yeah.
is inspiration enough to allow that.
Again, you look at Ark, like like whether you like the game or not, modding has completely made their game, and they have 50,000 people playing at any given moment. Insane for that type of game. But yeah, they did it. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love seeing the how the modding can actually bring everyone together and grow the game instead of restrict it.
Yeah, they have 52,000 people playing right now. That just blows my mind. Holy crap!
It's like us on the free weekend.
Not even. We didn't even get close to that. That's like their regular every day. Yeah, it'd be an interesting discussion for you guys. I guess the biggest thing is we know the tools that we want to create. We don't have them all yet, and I think I'm hoping when we do, that will make it more accessible. Because obviously, right now it's we're literally just under the gun in terms of time. We have a limited team size. We can't just keep growing the team infinitely. We're already at like 36 people. There's limits to how much we can do, I guess is what I'm saying. But I think once we get once Roy Awesome has a chance to actually integrate the mods so that they can be playable, hopefully that'll bring some more people out of the woodwork that have been kind of lurking around, or people that were interested in modding. But what do you guys think? Is there anything else we could be doing? People here in this channel?
Personally, I think it's amazing how much content we have access to, and it at the beginning it was quite overwhelming to have access to
Yeah.
finished to a finished game with it like in the production environment, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it's a nice playground. You can try out many different things and see how you guys have created like the game modes, how your weapon system works and the inventory system. And yeah, at the beginning a bit overwhelming, but I appreciate every bit of it, and
Absolutely.
happy
might
that
be-
more is gonna come.
It might be interesting to do things like do some very short podcasts or Twitch streams where just go through particular components in the SDK.
Yeah,
Like
that sounds good.
go through the soldier folder and just kind of pick apart a soldier and show you all the components. And for those that haven't picked it apart already, maybe it will kind of take some of the fear out of some people for even opening that stuff.
Oh, absolutely. There's a huge
Vehicles would be a great
misconception.
example.
I think there's a huge misconception that it's extremely difficult to understand how
Yeah.
game development works. Which I mean, it does have a lot of moving pieces and there's a lot of stuff to it. However, if you just get in there and jump in, you kind of can see logistically how everything's laid out, and that really helps in just messing around, breaking stuff, seeing how it works, seeing how all the different pieces connect. It would be very beneficial, I think, for us to kind of create some, and I was planning on doing this actually, to facilitate that, is having tutorials on certain aspects, like you were saying, like
Right.
going through the soldier blueprint and having that video, so people that want to work on that have an intro to
See where
that
all
and
the
they can easily
components
change it.
are.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like if you wanted to do this, this is where you would do it. You wanted to tweak these values. Value tweaking is always the gateway drug, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's like you get so far tweaking values and then you're like, but I want to do this, and now you need to go and learn how to do that, right?
Absolutely. Having a goal and being able to see how it's all laid out and how you want to plan it out.
Sounds like it would be really successful if you just stream that, going through those basic little and nitpicky things.
Yeah, as these guys have heard me say in the modding Discord before, it's difficult to get the other developers out of their caves and onto Twitch. Only Drew Oxy is about the only one that just kind of has no problem jumping in front of people. But as you know, by definition, developers aren't always the most outgoing. Video game developers aren't necessarily the most outgoing people, or the most confident, or the ones who want to be sitting in a Twitch stream. So I think my biggest challenge is in the future is going to be getting our team more engaged in modding, more so than they are now.
All right, let's jump up ahead real quick to
Sure.
AI and the possible uses of that. I know that people have been asking a lot of questions about bringing in civilians that are AI controlled and stuff like that. What do we know about that?
What do we know from our end? Nothing has been explored outside of testing, i.e., we have some bot stuff that we use for testing, like where the soldiers will get 72 soldiers on a map and they'll run around and fire and stuff like that, and it's really just for profile testing. I don't know what you guys feel, but I don't see, if I look at the maps we have now, I don't see civilians adding a lot of value. I don't.
That's something that Squad Ops has talked about a lot, and I think
Guys are
Hamleet's
really-
been working on it, and the introduction of just random civilians could cause that extra heartbeat or that jump scare
Definitely.
in people, you know. But
For what you guys are doing, but I think in regular
Exactly.
everyday play they would just blast them.
Yeah,
I agree
yeah.
with you there.
Even
Yep,
if they
I
got
agree with you.
penalized, they'd blast them.
Okay,
Now
that could be very much true.
the
Yep,
reality
I
of
think
adding,
couldn't be more right.
the reality of adding them for something like squad ops or having them as a tool which could be used for different things, yeah, absolutely. The nice thing is with our SDK, it's the raw UE4 engine. There's nothing at all stopping you from adding AI to squad. Nothing. Maybe just the scale, and I think even that's manageable.
Well, that's excellent and something to really look forward in the future for any Squad Ops fans out there.
Yeah, that would be super cool.
Yes, we definitely that's one of the things we want to bring to squad and our operations, because we feel like it would make it, like Muff said, it would add those jumps, like those anxious moments you have
Yeah.
that just add the immersion to the game.
I think the number one hurdle is going to be how intelligent do you want them to be.
Yes.
That is going to be, because I know right now because I've played with it. I actually have it open on my desktop right now, but there's a $40 pack from the marketplace that is plug and play AI. I was playing with it in VR this morning, and it took me about, I don't know, maybe an hour to set up.
Yeah, I got the same pack, I think.
Yeah, and with like guys firing magicians and then like guys with melee attacks. Maybe it's the same one, but anyhow, yeah, it's very easy to do. You could lay out a nav mesh in a village right now and have civilians running around, provided you had the mesh, in an hour, and that would be functional. And they would just
very
wander around,
Yeah.
and they could run away too. Actually, on site, if they saw you, they could run away. But
Yeah, that brings a lot of cool ideas. There's just so many different possibilities. I think from civilians to our SAW training sessions. Being able to fire against actual enemies and do bounding and things like that, and actually be getting shot at. Maybe not it damage you, but at least having that aspect of it makes it sort of more fun rather than just a regular training session. So
you could actually do some things like you could have a bot on an MG and have him use line of sight and hearing to detect you.
exactly.
So, part of your mission, part of your training could be trying to stay out of his line of sight and approach him in a safe manner or whatever it may be.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I didn't even think about that.
Drawing fire, like maybe, splitting up I don't know the technical terms, but essentially, having one team draw the fire while the other team moves around, and, the sensing components in the AI in UE4 are fairly sophisticated, so you can use sound, line of sight, various other things. So that wouldn't actually be that hard. You would literally just give those properties to the MG, the emplaced
Yeah.
MG, and then have it fire at you, right? Yeah. Unfortunately, bots are super accurate, so you have to build in some inaccuracy.
Yeah.
They headshot you every single time. But no, that's very cool possible stuff. Might fit well with a future mod that somebody has planned as well. Cool.
Absolutely.
And that's really cool. Did you have anything to add, Mitsu?
No, I didn't.
Okay, and since we're on like introducing bots and stuff with the DLC and expansions, it looks like free or paid created by the community. I would think that we would want them all to be free. I would hope,
Yeah,
but I know people put time into it as well.
Yeah, I think Postscriptum might be a great example where if it's viable, like what I would love to see them become is a complete standalone game where if they can fully, like, they have a really good plan right now. I've seen it and it's good. It's a really good plan. If they were to go far enough down the road that they could be complete replacement product, essentially a full conversion, I wouldn't be too upset about them monetizing themselves or us helping them do so. If it's a much smaller mod that doesn't really have that same kind of breadth, no, absolutely not. I have a feeling though Steam is going to take another kick at the can for paid mods, so that is actually going to be in the hands of the modders, not ours. Essentially, we wouldn't.
So their
we wouldn't
decision
actually have
whether they want
control of
to
it.
charge you for it or not, type of thing.
Yep. Even though Squad would make money from it, actually, there's like a revenue split with Steam, which again we don't have control over that. But that is, I have a feeling. I've been hearing some things in the background that might be coming out again, so it might not even control ultimately. But yeah, I could see some full conversions. That would be my dream. That the Squad framework is the tools that becomes like what's it called for Red Orchestra, Rising Storm.
Yeah, Vietnam.
Yep, Rising Storm is
okay.
a great example where that was basically a mod group or team or whatever, and they became a fully fledged in-demand product.
I remember seeing the first mentions of that Vietnam mod, being so pumped up for it, and then I didn't see anything for it until they made an announcement saying, "Oh yeah, we're developing this now." So or like they hired the guys, I guess, or working with him to bring.
They're their own studio, but they are partially supported by
Tripwire.
Tripwire. Yeah, we had dinner with those devs once in Germany. They're nice guys.
Nice.
Super geeks, just like our guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Epic geeks.
That's awesome.
No, I think that's up in the air. Like I said, I don't think from OWI's point of view, we're planning to add a DLC that we would expect people to pay for.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, we have no plans for any of that.
Well, let's move into workshop support, mod dependency, mod collections, filters, etc.
That is all up in the air. I know our target right now is like January, February, April, somewhere around March, April, I believe.
So no time frame really.
No, is kind of that, because we're going to, as you guys saw, we're redoing the animation system, and that along with that is the inventory system.
Oh, and it looks good too.
Yes.
It's really funny because I've mentioned this to people a few times before, but it's like we're building the game twice. We needed to build the conceptual game, and now we need to build the actual game. That's what we've been doing over the last year, is actually building the game, as opposed to building the vision that everybody bought into, which was the original alpha before Steam and then just onto Steam. But now we're like, okay, now we actually have to build it properly again. So yeah, that's, people are like, why is it taking so long? It's like, we built the game twice. That's just a fact. But
well, I think people are starting to understand that as well. That
yeah, and
every little thing is every little thing, and it does take time.
Oh yeah, and it's there's very little we could have done to have done it differently. To be honest, you can't just scale yourself up, instantly and aggressively without levels of management. You get past 35 people, 50 or 60 people, you're going to need, more leads and all that kind of stuff. And that can't be somebody who's inexperienced. It just doesn't work. They have to be able to manage themselves, You can't have an 18-year-old kid, even though he's talented, he's not going to be managing 5 people. It's just not going to work. So, but in terms of workshop support, that's kind of what we're aiming for, is that kind of time frame. Mod collections, yeah, our entire support will be through Steam Workshop. That will be the mode of modding, essentially. I think Garrett's dream, Roy, his dream is to create an integration for Squad in our SDK so that you can upload things directly from the SDK to the workshop.
That
which,
would be amazing.
which apparently UE4
Nice.
already has the framework for. It doesn't have the code, but the framework exists so that we could do that. You guys could literally just package and submit to Steam from the SDK, which would be sick.
Nice. That kind of moves us right into the game development lifecycle that's going on, and we've talked about that a lot already. Let's go to the future. What's the future of Squad going to bring?
The future of Squad.
I think maybe more in technical terms, not really content-wise, but it would be really interesting to know how you guys have planned out the next year or maybe the next 2 years in terms of supporting and growing Squad.
Yeah, I would say right now the major content development is scheduled for about 6 months. So from now until July, that is the core. Essentially, the core components from a code side will be entirely done or very nearly done. Once we get the animation system and the associated weapon and inventory system, I love the new weapon stuff. By the way, it's feels so much nicer. Once that's done, we're going to be out of core coding for primary systems. Even flight systems for helicopters are just going to be an extension of our vehicle. Possibly an easier extension, to be honest. There's a lot of things about helicopters that are a lot easier than a vehicle that's driving on the ground. If the helicopter hits the ground, it either lands or blows up. You don't have to worry about much physics when you're using a helicopter in terms of collisions. Most things that collide with a helicopter kill it.
Yep.
Going past that, what we're planning right now is first to take a holiday after this 6 months. That's for damn sure.
You guys deserve it.
Yeah, we're going to take a good one. I think this time we're going to make sure everybody gets at least a month, because it's just, it's literally been 3 years for me. I've taken a few breaks, but not significant ones in the last 3 years. And I was running 2 businesses for 2 years as well. OWI and another business. Right now, after that, we're going to look at expanding the factions. I know that we want to expand the deployable system to have a bunch of stuff like spline-based sandbag walls, razor wire, all that kind of stuff, where you can actually, the squad leader be able to click on a location, drag out the barbed wire across the road, click the other location, and there would be a cost associated with it, and then your guys would shovel it the spline line rather than placing per component. We had a working demo of that a year ago, and the coder we had ended up not being able to keep working with us and disappeared. And I literally still had it in our development folder. Is this spline deployable razor wire, and it's gorgeous, but we're gonna have to wait, I guess. Medical facilities in the fob, like a hab, which would actually end up being a spawn point. So a spawn point would be detached from the actual base radio fob. You'd have to build it. Bigger emplaced weapon, like, what do they call those? Like the HESCO. There's a word for them. Forget the name. Basically HESCO towers with machine guns in them. Heavier equipment, mortars, of course. That should be within the next 6. But we want to just keep expanding those systems, essentially. Map-wise, I think obviously the big one for us is going to be Fallujah. We're going to do a complete, ground-up rebuild of one more theater of war after Eastern Europe, which we're almost done. So that'll give us our third kind of theater of war, I suppose. That'll be the long term.
That is really cool.
And what about like the community side of things? Are you guys planning on continuing, the active community support you guys are providing right now throughout release?
Yep. Like I said, right now I would say that our plan is a year. It's 6 months for content development. It's a year. We know we're going to be running at least one more year. We have 6 months planned. The following 6 months after we take a break is up in the air to what we'll actually do with it, but we are planning another additional 6 months of development. So I would say we've got a year of nothing changing in terms of our engagement and
Awesome.
how we're going to attack. It's nice. The nice thing is we have the money for the time as well. We already have it sitting in the bank. And that was always one of my wish list items, is to make sure we literally just banked all the profit, so that we can just keep working on it without having to worry about where the money's coming from.
Absolutely.
Obviously, if we do it right, it'll be self-fulfilling, and that the game will make more money, continue to make money. But even if it didn't today, a year of development is already paid for. So we have that as a community, at least, and then, we'll see what happens in the future after that.
Well, that's promising too, just knowing that you have that.
Yeah, we have no stress on that end. Like, we're totally fine. You guys can rest assured that we'll be developing for the next year without interruption.
Great news.
We like hearing that. Let's go to see. We got EA and current FPS titles and the differences that must be compared to Squad.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think I like the pace of Squad. I really do. As in, you can go nice and slow and take it easy, but there's times where it's go go go, or we're not going to achieve our goal.
Yeah.
But overall, it's a little slower than most FPS titles are, and I like that. A little more strategy involved.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing for me is, and what brought me really to Squad and kept me playing, was the community, really. Because you get in communities like even Battlefield, like playing Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty, I mean, there's the stereotypical, trash talk and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you don't really get that you don't, I don't know, I don't see communities like Squad Ops and like Modding Hub popping up in any of these other, FPS titles. People were so passionate about the style of play, I think, that Battlefield 2 brought, and the difficulty of it, that it kind of, made the trolls and the, really young kids that are immature kind of shy away from this game, because
And
it's
the really old
unforgiving.
kids that are immature as well.
Exactly. I can't can't leave that out. But that's really, I think, the biggest thing for me, and also the fact that it is unforgiving, that makes it to where you do have those really immersive, like, anxious moments in game, and at any moment you could just get your head shut off. Everyone I've talked to has been like, "This is the hardest FPS I've ever played." It's like,
Yeah.
well, you got to communicate, man, or else you're gonna get your head blown off. You can't just run around and run a gun like you can in Battlefield
Yeah.
1.
Or you can, but you're not gonna have a lot of fun.
Exactly.
We had a great, great example of where I went on Yeho with one of the streamers who was playing the other day. Like, during work, I just took 2 hours and went and played with him because I was watching his Twitch stream, and we played Yeho, and we were the defense squad with an APC. We shot a lot, but we didn't kill a lot of people because we were just defending. We were defending all those little towns as the team pushed up. We had the highest score of all the squads, and probably the lowest kills, like, by
Wow.
far. But we had 25k points between the entire squad, and kills were not. One guy had 9. Everybody else had like 2 to 3 kills, maybe 2
The suppression.
Yeah, just
That suppression is so effective now. I cannot
gosh.
agree anymore with how awesome the suppression is in Squad.
that APC. I was literally set him in the middle of the town and directed his fire out of town, and he was just raking the hell out of people, like in the little villages across the fields and stuff.
Oh, it's
Just
scary.
like, that red fence, shoot low. Once he realized he had to, he's the guy who got 9 kills. It's like, once he realized he had to shoot low, I explained it to him. He was just like, "Oh yeah." I was like, "I'll tell you if there's somebody behind that fence, because we'll see them poke their head out, and then you just pay attention to what we're calling." And just he was sitting on a repair rearm facility as well. We're like, "You're the death machine,"
It's scary coming up against that fire. Like, you want to get your head down quick.
Yeah. So that's kind of an example of where I think Squad is quite different. That is,
Absolutely.
the other FPS largely, aside from Arma maybe, are full of heroes. Like, everybody having the ability to take out a tank, for example,
Yep.
or something like that, is just like, no. Squad is completely full of regular soldiers. Sometimes do heroic things, but they certainly, we are the anti-hero game, I guess, in a certain
That's a
sense.
great way to put it. I guess I've never thought of it like that, but you're totally right. I feel like the other FPSs give you kind of like these godlike powers, where you feel invincible, or you don't care if you just run out right in front of a tank, you know.
Well, because you
And
can
also
kill
just
them as
because you
well.
can just respawn. Yeah.
Yeah, you can shoot a tank with your sniper rifle and kill it if you shoot it enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was like, that is not, you're not going to last even 5 seconds doing that in squad. You're just going to get frustrated. That's always going to be the double-edged sword for us, is that we always have this discussion where, I do all of the marketing for squad now, and I have for the business planning and marketing side, is like, if we dumped $500,000 into marketing, as an example, that's not a specific number, but what kind of impact would it actually have? Would it actually draw a lot of people, or is there a specific niche that we're filling, that is only this big? I'm sure the answer is somewhere in between, but that's always been kind of on our mind. Like, we are crafting our own limitations in a sense.
Well, I think the good part of that is you have because it is, I guess, niche in a way. You have this community that you guys have built around Squad that's very friendly for new players. So you've got an example is the free weekend. You had a ton of people starting up noob squads and just trying to show people how the game worked, and that it was not this hero type game where you can just run around and not even talk to anyone. There has to be communication for you to do well in the game and have a lot of fun, you know.
Yeah, I feel bad for one thing I always feel bad for is the former PR community just dream of it being a remake. I do actually, like, I get what they want, and I was there and I played it and all that kind of stuff, but that's also not what we're trying to achieve as well. We've actually, right from the beginning, we were trying to be a bridge. That's what we've always been trying to do. Trying to, like, as you guys know, if somebody gets in a good squad once and has a really good story experience through one round, they're hooked. Like, they just get hooked. It's like crack cocaine, But yeah, that's all that's really our objective. So if more people can experience this style of playing a video game, I think we've achieved our goal. Yeah. But yeah,
Do you think there's I guess the possibility of, if you did say spend a lot on marketing and it brought in a ton of new people, do you think Squad as a game is difficult enough to continue to, deter those toxic people? Or would the community kind of grow into something that's so big that you're going to have, a lot of people that are toxic and trolly, like in CSGO or something like that?
Well, I guess the one reality is toxic people and trolly people always kind of outsize their presence.
That's true.
Somebody being annoying is about 10 times the voice as people who just want to play the game and never comment anywhere. So I think it might feel like that is increasing, and maybe that's all that matters, is that the community feels different. I don't think it actually would. I think Squad is a pretty good asshole filter.
Absolutely.
If you are truly a useless asshole, you won't have fun playing Squad.
And you're going to get kicked from
Exactly.
squads.
I think that's something really good about the Squad community. They govern themselves well.
For the most part. Yep. Absolutely.
Yep. For the most part, yep.
Yep. Cool.
Well, let's rock and roll forward to sound effects. Looks like is there any plans of maybe some Red October's 2 style voice acting in commands, or is it all is there anything like that planned at all?
It is actually planned to have basic voice commands, but have them be very... I haven't actually checked on this plan in a long time because it's mostly Sergeant Ross and Trooper that do that planning, but as I remember, it is planned. It's going to be quite limited. Be able to disable it.
Nice.
So me, for example, I'm very driven by I don't actually need those components. I just want it to be all people doing that. When I'm a squad leader, I never shut up anyhow. So you don't need voiceovers because you have me, like, yelling in your ear. So I think it's, with a really engaged squad leader, these things become irrelevant in my mind. But
I agree.
A lot of people like them, and maybe it's a selling point, like, or an additional point, or even a familiarization point. What are all the ones in PR? There's so many different ones, right? Like, move to this point. Attack this target.
Yeah, I don't think there needs to be that many. I think it's just it adds immersion to the game if you can like hear someone off in the distance, something a little more than, just a Wilhelm scream or something, like
Yeah.
I don't know, just being able to hear something, from just some sort of like chatter of like grenade, just small things, not necessarily like RO2 has it where there's a ton of different commands for everything you want to say to your teammates. Because as you said, there's already this squad chat and chat system in place that is the main point of the game. So you don't really need all of that extra stuff. It just can bring a level of immersion, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess the argument is made that, some people are not as talkative, and I'm like, yeah, well, they probably shouldn't be a squad leader.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's like it doesn't, it's just not ideal. Trust me, you don't want to be a squad leader if you're not very talkative.
Let's see.
Animation?
Yeah, that's it. All we got is animations and future uses.
I think the new animation system, from the stuff I've seen internally, and you guys have seen a lot of it now.
Yeah, that November recap was awesome.
I think from all the people who are butthurt coming from AAA games, it's going to be one of the things that sways. That, I mean, it's functionally it's going to be really nice too for the players, and you finally don't get stuck on little walls and all that crap, right? But I think for us as a level of polish, and just as a validation that squad can be every bit as professional, I guess, if that makes sense. I think that is going to be a big component of it, outside of the fact that it's very functional and it looks really.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to ask on the animation side, do you think the possibility of, actually having animations for getting in vehicles and stuff like that will be in the actual release, or is that something that the modders will have to bring to the game?
Absolutely doable, way down on our priority list.
Gotcha.
Because it doesn't, it effectively, the argument could be made it does add some gameplay element, and I get that, but not core. It doesn't affect the
No,
core.
yeah, it's definitely not a core thing. It would just be cool to see, like your buddies all open up the door to the Humvee and hopping in.
Yeah, I don't think that's not going to make it in the squad. It's a little bit too far out of our scope.
Gotcha.
We're already a bunch of guys who are generally speaking are not professional game developers, or they are very young in their career of being professional game developers, trying to build a game that is AAA sized. From the beginning, it was a pretty stupid idea. Let's be honest. We're like, we're gonna build what a studio of 500 people builds, and it's gonna be awesome. So, we only managed to get as far as we have by being like, need to cut this, need to cut this, need to cut this, need to cut this, need to cut this. That is literally the cutting floor of OWI is like, knee deep in amazing features that will never make it, unfortunately.
Or could in modding, that's
Totally.
Another great thing about the modding community is they can bring those things that did originally get cut because these people want to learn game development, and providing them the tools to do so and to show to grow a portfolio off of just building stuff on a mod is a great thing to have, I think, and I never want to see that disappear.
Yeah, a really interesting side effect of something I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast was that the animation system that you're seeing was not possible a year ago in the engine. Things that we're using in the engine for that animation didn't exist.
Wow.
So we couldn't even have done that. Almost didn't exist. I'd say a year and a half ago. We couldn't have done this. The engine literally wouldn't have had the features. So, and also the efficiency of the animation system is absolutely insane comparatively. Basically the entire animation system is moved to C++ with very little of it exposed. Like all of the blueprint component is exposed, but the core systems of the animation system will all be running in code, not in blueprint, which is at least 10 times faster, if not more.
Nice.
Yeah. So not only will it be pretty, it will also be ridiculously efficient in terms of costs. But that couldn't have happened a year and a half ago. It just simply wasn't possible.
That's really cool, and a lot of people didn't know that.
Yeah, I know, because people are like,
now that, to know that you've already done this much in that short amount of time with that availability, that means you guys are you're stepping up and you're making it happen. You're giving the people what they want, but you can only give them what's available to you.
Yeah, a lot of times we're waiting on stuff, or like we're doing other stuff, but we're really waiting for the engine. Physics is a great example. The vehicles, if we had tried to implement them, maybe not exactly the same, but similar problems. Even when we released them, it was nearly a disaster in terms of how they functioned, in terms of cost, and in the game and FPS cost. Most people had a reduction in FPS after Alpha 7. Yeah, man, that was like right on the cusp. And now we've got 4.14, which is going to massively upgrade the physics engine. There's an interesting point that a lot of times with Epic and what we're doing, and we talk to them quite a lot. They're a really communicative company, actually. You can email all their various arms that you're familiar with and talk to them about stuff, and they answer usually on the same day. They will get back to you almost immediately. We drive a lot of stuff for them. Like, we drove better integration of SDKs into their launcher. They had done it with Arc, but they just kind of bootstrapped it together. We are one of the elements which is driving them upgrading the physics engine, I would guess, because they know how many, they've been involved in us doing vehicles and all this stuff, and they've seen the kind of the troubles we've run into under the hood. So yeah, there's a certain element of us waiting, and then there's an element of us actually pushing, which is really nice. We've submitted a lot of fixes to the engine as a team, because their fixing system is open source. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but people can submit fixes to the Unreal Engine, integrate them. Yeah,
Yeah, I
cool.
think Corey submitted some changes to some base engine code. I'm not sure what it was, but
I think all of our, I don't know what you would call them, our senior programmers or higher level programmers have all submitted stuff to that engine.
That's really cool.
Yep.
Just one more question in terms of animations.
Yep.
And that, I think it was called Soundtrack 2 trailer
Yep.
Scott made. It looked like the trailer was made with a sequencer. Can you confirm that, or maybe even tell us if sequencer will be a future possibility for?
All I can say is I think you are right. I was not involved in that at all. I didn't actually know they were going to do that video. I knew they were working on something, Lourdes and Scott Tobin. Did not know what they were working on, and I was pretty floored when I saw it. It's pretty sweet, I think.
Yeah,
cool.
Just for those who don't know, Sequence is an in-engine cinematic tool you can create machinimas with, and that's going to be hopefully a huge possibility for content creators in the future to have a staged scenes, basically, where they can use animations and cast or spawn effects like explosions to create their own video content.
I'm going to ask.
Did we lose somebody? Ask.
Yeah. Right?
You might have cut out. I think you said you were going to ask something.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask one of the developers. I can answer you separately there, Mitsu, afterwards.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm just going to ask them and just see if that is in fact the case. Like I said, I'm not. The company's too big now. Development is too big. I'm not involved in everything. So
nice. Well, I got one more question, and you probably
sir.
won't know much about it. We just recently announced that Squad Ops has been partnered with OWI, and
I won't know much about it. Of course, I will.
A lot of us aren't. What does that mean for Squad Ops?
It's a really good question.
What is that? What kind of opportunities does that offer Squad Ops?
I guess there's, so to specifically say what you're mentioning as part of my community work, because again, my job has shifted a lot. I don't even work in the environments anymore. I'm basically running the business, and then my focus is on modding and community. We wanted to recognize some of the people and organizations that have been around now for almost a year. In the case of Community Clan Fight Night is a great example, where they have literally become a pillar of the squad experience. People come and watch it. I watch it in my office all the time now. while I'm working. I have it scheduled so that I can watch it. Number one is we just wanted to recognize it. So Squad Ops is a great example. When we did it on our charity event there, we had a lot of really good feedback about people watching Squad Ops. We've seen it develop. We've also seen Karmika develop. And we just wanted to recognize it. The second component of that is OWI saying to these people, in your case, Squad Ops, what can we do to elevate your guys' presence? Do you want to be more widely seen? Do we have anything we can do to help you do that? Whether that means, sponsoring something or giving you guys access to our social media, giving you access to our player base, whatever it may be. The recognition is that you guys have made us stronger. So we're willing to, be one of your brothers. And if there's anything we can do for you guys, the door's open essentially.
That's really awesome.
Keep in
That's really
mind,
cool. And
of
thank
people
you.
have-
I want to say thank you from Squad Ops as a whole, if no one else has
Yeah,
done
no
that
worries.
besides Karma Cut. We really appreciate that. And we look forward to supporting you guys in the future nonstop. And I really appreciate your guys' recognition and support of us.
Yeah, a lot of people have asked us, and even from really early on, even the CCFN guys, and we're like, you know what, we're not going to just put rubber stamps on people and say you're officially supported, because I think it would be damaging to us long term. Just, we've had a lot of people ask us, a lot of different tournaments, a lot of different groups. They just they want to be the official. And we're like, well, I think you have to earn it. You have to, on both ends. We had to earn it from you guys in Squad Ops, but we also saw that you guys earned it from us. So we're like, hey, these guys need to be recognized. And we want to see you guys grow. So I mean, I am looking forward to playing Squad Ops. I'm not quite ready. I heard it's really intense. So.
It is intense.
Oh, there's some moments, I'll tell you.
I was talking to Drew Oxy, who played with you guys during the Veterans Day weekend thing. And he was like, man, he was 25 minutes of just talking and sitting in a Humvee, but I was so tense.
Yeah. I've had sore muscles after the matches before because I had them clinched the whole time and I didn't even realize
so
it. Yeah.
We'll have to talk down the road about what kind of things we can do for you guys in terms of making your ops more interesting in the game. That would be a really good thing we could do, is get a pretty tight wish list, see what's doable, and then schedule some time to give you guys some Squad Ops specific features.
Oh, that would be just unimaginably awesome. That's crazy. I can't believe I'm hearing you say that.
We're going to do a pass on the camera as well. Again, at somewhere down the road, we're going to do a pretty comprehensive pass on the camera system, so that you can have a better broadcast essentially.
To help with the cinematics of it and stuff.
Yeah.
And a little less spammy if you have people highlighted and stuff like that.
Is there anything we can, as Squad Ops, can do for you guys and OWI to kind of facilitate that?
Oh yeah, make a list.
Alrighty,
sounds good.
It's can't promise you anything, but make a list. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
No, sounds good. No, we're pumped. We love watching you guys, and once I saw that our team, this is a big thing for me, is once I saw our team talking about it, and then we have channels in Slack where we subscribe to things and rebroadcast things. So Squad Ops is one of the things that's brought to our attention. It actually it updates us when there's a Squad Op thing going on, or you guys put up a new video or whatever, and the same for CCFN. It updates us and we know. So once I saw the team getting involved in terms of, hey, CCFN's on, somebody links it in our main chat, stuff like that, I was like, well, okay, this is not just something peripheral anymore. It's become part of the fabric of Squad. So that was part of my reasoning behind wanting to recognize you guys.
That's awesome, Iron Taxi, that you guys take interest in what the community does and their events and what we create or what other communities within Squad are creating,
like
and you
too.
watch it, and you like the game, you're passionate about it. It's not a job, it's what you like to do.
Yeah, no, it's fun, man. It's 3 years though. I'll tell you, I am definitely ready for a little break.
Well, you deserve one.
Yeah, I'm ready to unplug for I'm ready to unplug for a month to 3, I think. Just play some video games, and I think the nice thing is the business itself and the team is pretty self-sustaining now, which is really nice. We're finally at the point where if I were to die, I don't think that much would go wrong. Just like, the path is in front of us. We know how to get there. We have the money to do so. The stability, the structure, all that stuff is already there. So,
Well, that's good. It sounds like you got your feet firmly planted, which is
we
what
do.
I love to hear as a player and a part of the community.
It took a while, but I think our feet are as planted as they've ever been. That's for sure.
I love it. I love to hear that. Does anybody else have anything to add? We've been going for, I think, a little over an hour now. It's a little longer than we tend to run for our ops casts, but this one was worth it.
Yeah, nothing on my end.
I got
but
nothing.
It's great talking to you, Aaron.
Yeah, we covered a lot. I want to thank Iron Taxi for coming out from OWI. Great dev and well deserving of a break, and I hope you have a good one. I want to thank
Yes,
Mitsu,
absolutely.
Hamleet, and Hyper Evo's here. He hasn't said anything, but he's recording.
Yeah.
And really
It's nice
appreciate
to
you guys
hear.
coming out.
It's nice to hear Mitsu's voice. I've been talking to him for a long time in chat.
That's true.
For a long time now, I guess, off through various forums. But yeah, I'd never actually talked to him voice to voice.
Yeah, it was cool.
He's a cool
Now I know
guy.
he's a human. He's a
Yeah,
human.
he's not a robot. He's not a robot.
Well, guys, all right, I'm gonna get going here. I have a.
All right, thanks, Iron Taxi. Yeah,
Yeah,
watch us
thanks,
on
man.
CCFN.
guys.
Squad Ops has two teams in CCFN. We love that.
Nice.
It's so much fun. The camaraderie is great. I'm
Yeah.
glad you guys support them too.
Yep, absolutely. Take care.
All right, thanks, Iron Taxi.
See ya.